area as well. So, Coach.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Well, good afternoon. I apologize for being tardy. I have not found the right credential to get me access right out front, so maybe I'll win a couple of games and get one of those. Many of you, I think, are wondering why are we having this conference at this time of the year. Certainly, first and foremost, putting a staff together is not about, hiring and then, let's immediately get in front of the media. We need to spend a little time together. 7 of the 10 coaches that are, contracted were new coaches for me. And I hadn't spent much time with them. So we needed to spend some time together, get a chance to know each other. Certainly, philosophically, the things that we do on a day-to-day basis are going to impact our team on a day-to-day basis. So it was important that we spent a little bit of time together. And so why we spent some time, we certainly got an opportunity to get to know, what our charge is, and that is develop our players. And player development is at the core of who I am, and years of experience. You'll see that in the hires. I think if there's one prevailing theme that you'll see with our coaches, and even you'll see that in our analysts, from the defensive side of the ball, Chuck Bullitt, John Jancic, both of them are former Power 5 defensive coordinators. And so, when we talk about our defense, the theme is experience, winning, and the ability to recruit, communicate, motivate, and develop our. And that's really the prevailing theme across the board. When it comes to special teams, Brian Polian's been with me the past 5 years, but his experience spans over 2 decades, and again, experience. It's been part of 2 BCS playoff appearances, and recruiting. Had been a recruiting coordinator for me, and has put together a great track record as it relates to recruiting. So again, board as it relates to today, where we're going to talk about our defense, our defensive hires and special teams. Again, experience, the ability, obviously, to look at winning as a core, and then recruiting. So I'll start with our defensive coordinator, Matt House. What really drew me to Matt was coordinator experience. Here's a man who has multiple coordinator roles at different schools in particular, but more importantly in the SEC. And having experience in the SEC as a coordinator was certainly something that I was looking for. Matt's coached all the positions as well. And as a former defensive myself and a Division II head coach, I can appreciate somebody that's had to coach all those positions, because I've had to have that on my agenda as well. So he's coached the positions. He can fix the defense if it needs to get fixed, which it's never going to need to get fixed, right, Matt? And he's won at the highest level. He's won a Super Bowl. So he's a winning football coach and a great teacher, great communicator. And so that's what really drew me to Matt. Jamar Kane, who's our defensive line coach and our run game coordinator, his ability, to coach the defensive line, not only in the 3-down and 4-down, the multiplicity that we're looking for defensively, that was really attractive, and somebody that has that ability to do multiple jobs that we're going to ask our defensive line coach to do. He's won a national championship. He's been part of winning programs. And then, a proven record as a recruiter. And so, again, that prevailing theme that I talked about, Jamar. Kerry Cooks has been with me as well. I know him very well, but brings great versatility as somebody that has coached corners and safeties. He's played for national championships, been part of many Big 12 championships, obviously of the college football playoffs on a number of occasions. So again, you can see winning is part of this coaching staff. They've been part of winning programs. They know what it looks like, and obviously a huge draw for me is Kerry's an outstanding educator and recruiter as well. And then Robert Steeples, coaching the corners is really a unique trait position, and I needed somebody that's played the position, and Robert's played the position, played it in college, played it in the NFL, as a winner in his own program, and took over a program and won a state championship as a head coach, and when you get a chance to talk to him, you can tell that he's a great communicator, great teacher, and will be a great. And I've talked about Coach Polian, who will also serve as a recruiting coordinator for us as well, and our special teams coach. 20-plus years of experience, 5 years with me. He's a winner. He's been in winning programs. He's recruited top 10 classes. So, again, as I looked at putting together a staff and assembling a staff, we're in the SEC, and we're in the toughest division in the SEC. You need experienced coaches. You need coaches that know what winning is about, and how difficult it is to win in this. And then you need to recruit. And if you check those three boxes, those are the things that I was looking for in putting a staff together today. So you'll get an opportunity to break out with them. I'll open it up to any questions that you might have. Is that what you would like? Yep.
Hey, Brian, Wilson Alexander from The Advocate. You mentioned wanting multiplicity on defense. What other sort of qualities are you wanting to see on your defense in terms of scheme and what that might look like?
Yeah, I think, from a defensive standpoint, I think offensive, minded coaches would all tell you that if you line up one way, you're going to have a long day. And so, we're going to defensively be able to give you multiple looks. Obviously, try to keep the personnel as constant as possible, and make it difficult, for offenses to know what they're going to get from down to down. And that's really the game today, right? If you're, constantly, moving personnel in and out of the game, multiple packages, makes it a little bit more of a game for the offense, change tempo on you. So, we're going to, try to have the pen last in a lot of those situations.
Michael Cobble in the back here.
Hey, Michael.
If you could just kind of get us caught up, you said getting to know each other was obviously important, but what is the last month and a half maybe now that you've been able to kind of sink your teeth into it, and what is the team currently, you meeting with the players, et cetera?
Yeah, so, first and foremost, it was, for us getting the entire staff, through HR, getting all of those, that process completed, which, obviously doesn't happen overnight, and, finishing up the hires, coaches that went through the playoffs, and we had to take care of those things. And then it really was about developing some relationships with coaches and staff meetings. We've only had a couple of staff meetings. I would say the first, few weeks, it was hit the ground running, recruit with not a whole lot of dialogue other than them having the experience, certainly being attuned to what our interviews were like in terms of what my expectations were, and putting together a class in a very short order. And I thought they did a terrific job. So that took up probably, maybe half of the time together. And then the rest has been observing our players in strength conditioning. Jake Flint, our strength coach, is there. And so then our coaches have gradually started to have dinners with them, get a chance to know our players a little bit better. And then, we've been now starting to meet as staffs and get ready as we put together our offense, defense, and special teams playbook, nomenclature, things of that nature.
Hey, Coach, here on the right. Shea Dixon with 24/7 Sports. You mentioned with recruiting, you signed 15 high school guys between the 2 signing days and 13 transfers. What behind the scenes went into striking that balance with those numbers as you build the roster back out?
Yeah, so, I think it started with immediate needs versus, player development and knowing that we had to balance it in some fashion. Like, we're going to take the field against Florida State, and we needed to have a roster that allowed. And so that 13 represents filling immediate needs that either were through graduation, attrition, or injuries. So that's the 13. The 15 is through just the normal turn, graduation, and moving on to the NFL. And that really kind of dictated how we moved forward between the split between 15 and 13 relative to, the 28.
Brody Miller with The Athletic. Hired plenty of coordinators in your career. I guess, are there certain qualities you've learned you look for in hiring a defensive coordinator, certain things that you kind of, learned you like?
Yeah, I think, first and foremost, somebody that communicates effectively, can develop his staff. This isn't about what you know. This is about, how you can empower others. And, Matt has a proven track record of being able to, bring others along with him and develop them, players, coaches alike. So I think I'm looking at, how they bring the room together, other coaches, and then players. And, his work at Kentucky, the development of the defense through the years at Kansas City, obviously we're big. Got a chance to watch him firsthand at Pittsburgh, went against them there, North Carolina State, and loved the way he made adjustments and things of that nature. I think some firsthand, but I think what I'm looking for in particular is, the ability to not only have the knowledge of the position, but, how that knowledge is developed amongst the other members of the staff as well.
Hey, Coach, over here on your right, Matthew Bruner, 24/7. When you look at the 13 transfers, obviously there's a mixture of eligibility. Some have played 1 year, some have played 4 years. Why was that important when assembling the transfer portal?
Yeah, so there were some specific charges there. We were looking for guys that had a connection to the state of Louisiana. So it wasn't an accident that a lot of these guys were from the state, wanted to come back to Louisiana, wanted to play for LSU. For whatever reason, they didn't end up playing football here in their freshman years, but want to be here. So we were going to take guys that of high character. One of them was a captain at another school in the SEC, that were good students, that we weren't taking guys that were not above the line, so to speak, for us. And we're going to impact the culture of our team in a positive way right away. And one of those criteria was if they could be from Louisiana, that would be a big plus for us. Awesome.
Hey, Brian, Adam Hunsucker at Tiger Rag. You mentioned that there's a lot of new guys on this staff that you've never worked with before. Was that by design, or did it just kind of work out that way?
It's always a little bit of both. I've quite a long time, so I've had coaches that I've known for many years. That Mike Denbrock is back with me. He had been at Cincinnati for a number of years. So, I'll circle back with coaches that I've coached with before, and then some coaches I've coached with before. But there's always some kind of connection in some fashion, that these coaches, that somebody knows somebody that knows somebody in this business when you're in it as long as I have. So I think I'm at a point in my career where there is a connection, even if it's not a direct connection. Somebody that knows that coach, even if you haven't coached with him before, somebody that knows him very well, and you feel comfortable, making that decision.
Hey,
You
Coach,
get the last question.
I hope it's a good one for you.
I'm
Glenn,
sure.
the LSU country, just, now that you've had a month or so to kind of get to know these players a little bit, what are your general impressions of them, and just any common traits that you've seen in a lot of the players you've been able to get to know?
Yeah, we're not ready to play. If we have to play tomorrow, we're not ready yet, but we will be. It's going to be a process for us. I like the fact that, like many teams that I've had in the past, at this time, this is the fifth time I've done this, is that there's a want to. They recognize, and they are of what they've done the last 2 years, and cumulatively it's been 500, and that's not good enough. And so there is a desire to want to change that, and so there is that want to. Now we've got a lot of things that we work on to be the championship program that we want to be. But I guess like anything else, as long as we have a group of players that are committed to what we want to do here, we're pretty confident that we can get them there come opening day. Thank you.
First of all, appreciate you guys coming out and being here. Excited and humbled to be a part of this university, to work for Coach Kelly, have the opportunity to coach at a place that's a premier institution, academically and athletically. Really just scratching the surface right now of getting to know our players. Coach has put together a great staff. It's been awesome to be in the room with Coach Cooks, Coach Kane, Coach Steeples. Those guys are tremendous. And our players are hungry to learn. But we're in the process of developing the traits that it's going to take, all right, to be successful. And that is a process. And it starts with just getting to know each guy. Okay? With that, any questions you got?
Brody Miller with The Athletic. I suppose if you could, just last, few years for you as you chose to, go to the NFL as a linebackers coach, and now what brought you back to want to be a coordinator in college again?
Well, several things. First of all, when you leave coordinating, you always have that hunger to get back and do it. I enjoy the part of the game the building of a team, the building of a staff. I enjoy when you lock arms and get in the room together and you can put together a plan. And I enjoy the development piece. It was fun the 3 years in Kansas City to go back and work with and to learn from Coach Reed and obviously, you know, winning at a high level. But at the end of the day, there was a hunger to come back and to be a defensive coordinator. And I missed the part of the relationships with the players. You know, I had a great linebacker room in Kansas City, great guys. Okay, but one of the things that I did miss, I have 4 kids of my own, and I missed the opportunity for my kids to get to know the people that I was spending time with outside. And coming back to college affords you to do that.
Matt, straight back. Michael Cobble from Channel 2 here in Baton Rouge. You talked about putting that plan together. What do those conversations look like, sound like? Has Coach Kelly really given you autonomy to kind of do what you want to do? And could you discuss that process?
Yeah, the thing I've learned in a short amount of time with Coach, whether it was through the process of conversations that ended up to me coming here or through the conversations, is he's going to empower people to do their job, whether it's a player, whether it's a coach, whether it's a nutritionist, okay? And the thing we're doing right now is more than putting the plan together. Right now we're trying to get our guys to buy in to the habits and the focus to do the things right out. So when we do get on the grass and execute the plan, we can be consistent in our execution. All right, we can be a gritty defense that has the traits to strain play in and play out.
Hey, Coach, Glenn West right here with LSU Country. You know, you mentioned your last stop. Just what you learned the last couple of years about building a championship-level defense and obviously winning the Super Bowl and all that.
Number one thing is, you know, talent will get you so far. I mean, you look at winning at that level, the locker room, okay, the leaders within each position, the standard, the consistency that it takes to win day in and day out. Those are the things when you win at that level that kind of come through, because everybody's got a certain level of talent. It's the teams that bond together, all right, and play to a standard that.
Yeah, right here, Ron Higgins, Tiger Details. Did any of the LSU guys on the Chiefs talk to you about LSU, Tyrann or Darryl or Clyde?
Yeah.
Advice will they give you?
I'm going to tell you what, this is, of any place I've been, this is the most passionate former players I've ever seen, okay? Clyde, whether it was T5, I mean, those guys love this university, love this state, and want to do anything they can to help it be successful. And that's pretty neat. It's neat to be a part of.
Hey, Matt, Adam Hunsucker with Tiger Rag. You mentioned on defense and the different things you want to do. Have you decided, from a base standpoint, what you all want to scheme out of yet?
You know, that's a great question, but we're still learning our guys. And until you can learn your guys, I mean, football 101 is, right, accentuate the positive and try to keep them out of negative situations. As coaches and as a coaching staff, we got the experience and the versatility to put them in good situations. But there's a process of learning what your guys can do and what they can't do before you can execute that. And that's the process of going through this winter, going through spring ball. It's a process and morphs into what we can become.
Hey, Coach, this is Koki Riley from the Daily Advertiser down here. So I was wondering if there's any aspects of Coach Spagg's defense over in Kansas City that you think could help you mold this job and help you here.
Is Alabama going to read what you write? No, I'm just teasing. All right, but no, Coach Spags, the thing that he does is he does a great job of teaching in concepts, so it can appear to the quarterback that you're complicated while keeping it simple enough for guys to play fast on defense, and that's kind of what we'll do.
Right up the middle again. Could you kind of just elaborate on what a run game coordinator does on defense?
Yeah, first of all, if you look at Jamar, he's a great technician. He's a guy that understands front play, understands leverage on the ball, and then schematically can. That'll be his role. Thanks, guys.
appreciate everybody being here. It's good to see everybody and grateful for what you do. I am first just want to say thank you to Coach Kelly for the opportunity to be here. I am extremely grateful for the opportunity to be a part of this university community. I do want to take 1 second because in the time that we left Notre Dame and have come here, have not had a chance to speak publicly. And I do want to take 1 second to say thank you to every player back in South Bend. I had a blast coaching that group, and there are guys that friends forever and that really worked hard in our world there, and I am extremely grateful for the opportunity to have been with them and for what they did. Excited about the chance to be at LSU and Fighting Tiger and experience life in the SEC and life in the SEC West specifically. Excited about the challenge of recruiting. While we're on the topic of recruiting, again, have not had the chance to be out publicly. So many people on campus helped us put this class together in what was really a dead sprint from the time that we arrived in mid to early December in terms of our compliance people, people on campus that helped us organize visits. I mean, we were learning on the fly the different facets of the athletic department, the university administration, admissions. There are too many people to name specifically, but we do want to recognize all the help that came from outside of the football operations center as it related to putting this class together. And then specifically inside the football operations center, we do need to recognize Will Redmond and J.R. Belton and the job that they did to help put this class together. The last thing before I take any questions, I've tried really hard to just get indoctrinated into the community, and I realized how rabid the fan base was until I put a tweet out in an airport that said, "Hey, Tiger fans, tell me what I should do," and about 400,000 people interacted with that thing, and it's been really, really cool. The way that the fans and people have reached out, and we are slowly checking all the suggestions off the box one by one. The Cajun turkey sandwich at the AM Mart is as advertised. Got a lot of suggestions on that one. Went over and saw Coach Johnson the other day on Sunday. The box, he and I have a relationship dating back to our time at Nevada. And so to experience that was wild. I thought it was great, and everybody was like, well, it's the season opener against Maine. Wait till we get SEC opponents in here. So we're excited about that too. Having been to a couple basketball games, need to get to a gymnastics meet, just trying to do the things on campus and in the community to try and get involved, and grateful for all the people that have embraced us and will continue to do so as the families arrive. So with that, I'll take any questions.
Coach Charles Sandegriff, ESPN Radio, up here. With one class in the book since the rule changed, how would you describe the challenges of recruiting with regards to NIL?
In regards to NIL, it's difficult because it's a moving target. It is interpreted different ways in different states. Constantly trying to educate people as to what one school can do and another school may not be able to do. It's just hard to hit a moving target. In the end, I don't think NIL was the deciding factor in very many in recruiting, but I know that Coach Kelly, our administration, our community, I know that they are, as NIL continues to develop and form, that we are going to stay on the front end of it and do so responsibly. But that's for anybody right now, just because there are very few guidelines and the rules apply differently in each state. So that was something that we were dealing with on the fly.
As a follow-up, sorry, real quick, do you feel like the law is in
I don't have enough information as it how it works to everywhere else to be able to give a fair statement on that. I mean, obviously it's all still in the process. If I understand correctly, I believe that one law that had passed in the state of Alabama has already been repealed. Is that happened in the last day or so, or at least was put up for debate? Like, these things keep moving. So how we function here, and does it put us at a competitive advantage or disadvantage as it relates to other opponents? I don't think I could answer that right now.
Hey, Coach. WAFB TV in Baton Rouge. How are you and Frank Wilson going to work together, and what kind of asset is he for you in the recruiting here in Louisiana? There's
no doubt that Coach Wilson is going to be a strong asset as it relates to the recruiting operation, and we are going to lean on his expertise in the state. I don't accept the role of recruiting coordinator and come in and act as though I understand fully the landscape in the state, the relationships, all the history. That's not my strong suit. We're going to lean on Coach Wilson and Coach Sloan and Coach Hankins and Hankton, that know the state really well. I'm going to focus on what I do well, which is roster building and player evaluation and keeping the offense and the defense communicating with one another. And really, my job is to ensure Coach Kelly's vision. I think my experience as a head coach and as a special teams coordinator helps those things because I see the big picture. I'm not focused on one side of the ball or one position group. I'm trying to constantly see the big picture, not only for where we're at now, but where we need to be in. As it relates to leaning on Coach Wilson, he's going to be a gigantic resource, and we work hand in hand on a lot of things, and there's a couple times a day I'm knocking on that door seeking his advice.
Brian, Scott Rappelay from The Advocate, along with the NIL transfer portal, because it becomes, was that for a group that, as you said, had to hit the ground running in terms of recruiting, was that a help this year? Was it particularly helpful to this class?
There's no doubt that it helped us rebuild the roster. I mean, when you look at the bowl game, I think we were at 39 or 40 scholarship players available for the bowl game. We couldn't do that, and there are limitations as to, how many initials that you can invite into a class, and we had to be judicious about how many of those guys were going to be transfer players that might offer more immediate help. How many of those transfer players had eligibility remaining? We could not take a huge number of guys that only had a year left, because then the roster was going to get top heavy, and we were going to face different issues coming down the road. So that was difficult. And to be honest with you, I kind of leaned on my father, Bill Polian, my brother Chris, who, they've got experience in how to approach free agency. And let's not mistake it, for lack of a better term, that's what the transfer portal is. You're a one-time free agent. So we had to be responsible in how we handled that, and feel like with Coach Kelly's guidance and the work of all the people in the football center that we did a really good job, but we did a responsible job as well.
Here on the right, Shay Dixon with 24/7 Sports. In terms of the transfer portal and rebuilding the roster, how do you think y'all did in terms of addressing need positions across the board, and a handful of scholarships still left? Are there spots you're looking at, or is that something you determine through spring ball and as the offseason goes?
No, there are still initial scholarships available, and Coach Kelly and myself and the coordinators and Coach Wilson will talk through those needs and determine if another transfer might be in the best interest of our program. It's a tricky deal, and you have to manage it. You got to manage it wisely, and we've tried to as best we can here moving forward.
Hey, Brian. Michael Cobble from Channel 2 here in Baton Rouge. If I may recommend Polian's, if you like seafood.
Yes, it's on the list.
It's a good joint.
Coach House he went there and raved about it. We trade notes in the office.
Good spot. Let's teams for a minute. Obviously, school just lost one of their best kickers ever in all three different kicking positions. It looks like you guys could have, some need, I guess. How much do you know about those positions? How anxious are you to work with the guys you have?
Very excited to work with the guys that are here. Tried to talk Caden to coming back. Gave it one shot. And wish him nothing but the best. He's immensely talented. Very excited to work with the specialists in particular, and we'll work with them every day. And I think there's talent there. And we've signed Jay Bramblett to join us to augment us, and we'll be excited to reunite with Jay here in the summertime. But one of the beauties of being the special teams coordinator is that you get to work with the entire cross section of the team. And the last probably 5 to 7 days, the analyst I'm working with, Lester Erb, he and I have spent a lot of time watching LSU film, getting to know our guys, and excited about what we saw on film. And we need to re-energize a culture here where guys understand that our best players have to cover kicks. I mean, my job is made easier because Coach Kelly believes in the importance of the kicking game, and it starts with him, and that will bleed down through the rest of the organization, the coaching staff, the players, and we're going to get as many guys involved as possible, and continue to try and play at a high level in the third phase of the game. You watch throughout the course of the college football playoffs, the bowl season, the NFL playoffs. It's important. It's important that you function at a high level in the kicking game, and we're going to continue to do that. Good. Thanks, guys.